Have you ever purchased a board game only to open it to realize that the game feels like it could have been better? And I'm not talking about the strategy or the gameplay, I'm talking about the way the game feels, the way the game pulls you in and transports you to another world. If you're looking for a way to enrich and enhance your board gaming experience, then you've come to the right place, because in this video we are going to talk about 7 weird things that board gamers really like. Number 7 on my list is what I consider to be a premium upgrade and a high quality finish to the production value of a game. One thing that I really find in games is that because a lot of the game pieces are often getting moved around or shuffled or handled, the games can often wear out over time very, very quickly. And this is something that I absolutely love, and it is using a linen finished look to your rulebook and to your cards. Durable cards are so important. If they've got a linen finish on it, they've kind of got this cross-hatched nature on it where when you shuffle and pick up the cards don't stick together, it's easy to manipulate, and also repels little dirty, grimy, oily and greasy fingertips. It ensures that the cards stay protected for a long time. And especially when a game has cards that are the primary board game component that players are going to be touching and moving around, this is such an important consideration when producing a game. I also like the idea of a linen finished rulebook. Whilst not essential, if it is a book that you're going to be referring to a lot and referencing the rules, and it's got particular things that you need to look at whilst you're playing the game, a linen finished rulebook will ensure that pages don't get creased or torn as you pass the book around the table. Also, in the game Tides of Time, where the primary component is a deck of cards, the size of the cards themselves fit beautifully in your hand. I just love cards that are tarot-sized. They allow you to see the art a little bit more clearly, and also any iconography that appears on the cards themselves. When it comes to packing up or setting up a board game, sometimes it feels like you're putting together a 1,000 piece puzzle. You really want to organize all of your different components and bits so nothing gets lost. And I know that number 6 on my list will definitely be something that a lot of gamers will appreciate, and that is a very well thought out insert or storage solution. The game Parks comes with this beautiful storage tray that has a lid that secures all of the different resources on it, so that when you come to play the game, you can open the lid and literally distribute the resources as if it's like money from a Monopoly game. Then you've got games like Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, where all the tiles are pre-sorted, pre-divided into the stacks that you'll need when it comes to drafting the tiles in the game. You don't even need to shuffle them anymore. They are already pre-shuffled and sorted in this amazing game tray box. And this is such a great solution for making things feel more accessible, reducing the setup and pack up time of your game, as well as just ensuring that you can reach things much more easily. Hey Danny, have you got any storage solution ideas for these really big board games? I think they're taking up a lot of space in the house. How about you put those board games in that container over there and I'll get to them later. Just kidding. Then you've got games like Acropolis, where when I opened the box, I was expecting to punch out so many different tiles in this cool tile laying game, but to my surprise, when I opened it, everything was already pre-sorted, pre-punched out, and I didn't even have to do a thing. All I had to do was read the rules and start playing the game. And finally, when you've got games like King of Monster Island, which have a lot of different weirdly shaped pieces that all need to fit into a box, I love how the insert kind of shows you the way things should fit together so that everything fits nicely. This particular game has a volcano where you drop these dice in, but the way that even the dice sit in this insert with the smaller dice underneath and the chunky and larger dice on top just gives me such a satisfying feeling. Now for number 5, we're going to get down low and have a look at this Calyx cube, which I've used as a side table as well as to display some of my square-shaped board games. And one thing that I like about displaying my board games on a shelf is that they're colorful, they sit nice and flushed, and that they're generally all the same size. And sometimes when you go out and you buy a game and you bring it home, you're like, oh, this rectangular or square-shaped box is slightly different in thickness or width to the other square-shaped box that you have in the game. And let's be honest, our shelf spaces are extremely limited. There's only so many games that you can place on there, and if you get a game that's not the right shape, it will tend to probably just go into the cupboard instead, and you might forget that it even exists. I like games that sit flush and that have the same size. It almost has a symbolic unity about it. The idea that those games fit together well. It's like putting that final piece in a 1,000 piece puzzle and standing back and going, wow, I love my game collection. Danny, your board game shelf looks great as it is. It doesn't need to be perfect, you know. You're right. I think I'll have to sort them by color scheme instead. Number 4 on my list is all about functional 3D pieces that integrate the mechanism of a game in some way. Games like Oak, which is a worker placement game where players control different druids as they ascend a tree, allow players to dress the workers up in different types of equipment to specialize those workers with specific actions. By upgrading a druid to an elder druid means that that player can make that worker have a special power or function when it moves around the board. And that is a beautiful aspect to the game experience. The idea that it fits into the theme, but also increases and invites variability in the gameplay and the decisions that you make, not only makes it visually a feast for the eyes, but a cool strategic touch to the game itself. In viticulture, players are running a vineyard, and the piece that I really love in this game is those clear glass beads that you use to track the amount of grapes that you've crushed on your pads, as well as the types of wine that you're keeping in your cellar as you age them across the years. The clear glass beads not only feel tactile when you move them, they allow you to see the numbers underneath to keep track of how much of a particular item that you've got, as well as that they magnify the numbers below it, and it feels so thematic, and I absolutely love it. I can totally see why you bought this board game, Danny. The 3D components look great. You're right, I totally bought that game for the strategy. I love in games like Maglev Metro, which introduces these transparent hex tiles, which represents each player's train connection. They help to create little transport networks across the map so you can pick up passengers and drop them off, but the idea that they're transparent and they can be laid on top of each other is really cool. It kind of simulates those cool bus or train network maps that you see on public transport, and it just fits so thematically into the game, yet it's also very functional and innovative at the same time. Hey Danny, look what I can do with these 2 wooden bowls. I can turn it into a really cool dice roller. Put the dice in the bowl, close the lid, shake it, and voila! You realize I was using those bowls to put my player pieces in, right? Number 3 on my list is something that I think people would consider to be quite strange. If I went to my group of friends and said, you know what, something that really satisfies me the most are these 3 things I'm about to share with you, they'd probably look at me funny and then be like, okay, let's move on to the next topic in our conversation. And number 3 on my list is cubes, meeples, and tracks. There's something satisfying about playing a Euro and seeing your colored cube move up a technology track, race against another player up a temple, and that sense of tension that you get when it comes to playing with cubes. There's a cool texture to moving cubes around a board and seeing how your cube progresses you throughout the game, whether it be around a victory point track or upgrading resources or upgrading powers. There's something satisfying about using cubes in a game. I kind of liken it to jigsaw pieces in a puzzle. Instead of jigsaw pieces, these cubes help to track everything that you've done in a game. And after 2 weeks, it's finally time to add the last piece to the puzzle. Danny, can you please pass me that piece over there? Are you serious? It's like little achievement scores that help to connect you and tell your story about your impact and footprint that you've made in a game you've played. I also love meeples, and most board gamers love the idea of meeples and how they represent who we are. And there's so many different types of meeples out there, ones with screen printed, there's anime meeples. Like if you even look at viticulture itself, there's all these little buildings. I just love the idea of using meeples to represent who we are in a game at a miniature and micro level. And that idea of moving meeples and placing meeples out on a board just encapsulates what I love about this hobby, that satisfying feeling of being together, being part of a group, and making your mark on board games. Number 2 on my list is something that I know that a lot of board gamers love and look for in a game. And I know from my perspective, I love the added level of minute expression that this detail adds to elevating a game experience. And that is screen printed wooden components. There's something really special and expressive about a wooden component in a game that has screen printing on it. Whether you're a camper heading around a campsite in Meadow, or an entrepreneur wandering around the markets in a game like Icky. Adding that extra detail to the wooden components makes that character feel a lot more expressive. In a game like Batoka, where the resources are wooden and colored and have little drawn details on them, it feels like you're picking up that resource in that world and using that resource in real life. Games like Root, where each player plays different factions and the facial expressions of the animals are printed onto the wooden animals themselves, just adds extra character and flavor and personality to the game. Another thing that I know a lot of board gamers love to do is to go onto Etsy and look for stickers. Stickers that match wooden components in their games. And stickers are actually a really great way of lifting the flavor of a game, because it allows you to put the illustration of that character onto your components. So, hey Danny, thanks for the fun times. I really appreciate you inviting me over and allowing me to play board games with you. I think our friendship has gotten stronger. Anytime, bro. By the way, are you free at 5 o'clock tomorrow for a 10-hour board gaming session? Before we head to my number 1 weird thing that board gamers love, if you really like the content that you've seen so far, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more wholesome board game content. Now the time has come to see what is number 1 on this list, and this is something that I look for in all board games, and I hope modern board game designers, if you're publishing anything, please consider this as a cool upgrade to your game, because I really appreciate when I open a game and the game has double layered recessed playboards, just like this playboard from Vladimir Suchi's game Praga. This is such a cool, unique thing that really makes playing a game satisfying. Not only does it organize the stats that you have in a game, but if someone bumps the table or you reach over for the rulebook, your pieces are going to stay where they are. And if you look very carefully, you can see that this board is double layered. You can move the cubes around, you can unlock and reveal bonuses. This particular board has dials that keeps track of the resources. The idea that you can move these cubes and slot them into all these little holes just is incredibly satisfying. Board gamers really appreciate it when everything stays in the one place and stays in a place where you last left it. Games like Scythe have slots for you to place your buildings and to move markers to the top of the board and to the bottom of the board. Great Western Trail, 2nd edition, that allows you to place workers on these 3 tracks to fill up the board, or reveal new action discs that give you extra powerful bonuses. So what did you think of my top 7 list? Are there specific things that you look for to help elevate your board game experience? If there are, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to start a conversation and get to know you better. If you're a patron, thank you for supporting me each and every month. Your names are about to hit the credit screen at the end of this video. Otherwise, please check out the plethora of other board game videos on my channel. This is Danny signing out. See you again soon. Goodbye!